Before I jump into the video, this video is presented in 4K, and if you're looking to get your hands on some 4K capture equipment as a creator or an avid gamer of your own who wants to just maybe share some clips, be sure to check out Elgato Gaming's 4K 60 Pro. Click the link in the description below to learn more. Now, I'll be totally honest, there's a lot of cool stuff that we've heard about from Modern Warfare already, and honestly, a lot of these things that are more on the minute detail side of things, but that just add that extra layer of, okay, this is pretty cool, this is gnarly, and I mean that in the way of things that we've learned about, like the Tamagunchi, which again will be a very basic play on the Tamagotchi that was a toy whenever a lot of us were probably younger. We've learned about the wristwatch that showcases your console's time, but that stuff doesn't really interact with the game in a way that's super effective. It's kind of cool to look at and stuff, but it doesn't do anything outside of just being cool little details. But how do you assert your absolute gaming dominance in a match? Well, I mean, streaking players and dropping a nuke is one thing, but what about in a pivotal moment, absolutely embarrassing your enemy? Turns out you can do just that, as Infinity Ward has introduced executions in Modern Warfare. And today we're going to break down executions as a whole, examine a few that we've already seen so far, and maybe talk about the future, what it may hold in terms of this as an explorable content subject for maybe DLC, and what may follow in the realms of microtransactions. But if you want to keep up to date with all things Modern Warfare, go ahead and click that subscribe button. There's daily Call of Duty content here on the channel, and with the time fast, but I guess not really fast enough, approaching the Modern Warfare launch and coming up sooner than that, the beta even, we'll be talking more and more about it, not just Black Ops 4. But that said, let's jump into it. Now, executions in Modern Warfare can be downright brutal. These are special finisher moves that are unique to each operator that we know of so far. Perhaps come launch, there may be a selection bank, almost like an emote choice that you can utilize for all operators, but what we've seen so far, they're specific towards operators with unique attributes to each. So far, we've seen roughly 3 of them, if I'm not mistaken. We've seen one that was a default where you kick the player's leg to bring them down to their knees and then you stab them in the neck. That was one that we saw since the very beginning. We saw that back in the 2v2 gameplay reveal build and the event that happened with Courage, Legion, Syndicate, and TP. We also saw this in the 4K gameplay that you're watching now that was released by Infinity Ward a few days ago. So it seems like this one will either be a default for all, maybe a default for one operator, maybe even just the default for the default operator that you have per each faction, whether that be the Coalition or the Allegiance. After that, we've seen 2 that have been in the realism mode footage that was also released alongside what you're watching now, and also where we pull that footage from. One being that you come at a player, stab them in the torso with a machete, and while they're hunched over from that stab, you knee the base of the machete to lodge it in deeper. And the final one is a hack and pull maneuver with a hatchet, where you stab the player, they fall slightly, you pull their leg with the hatchet, and then come up and over to finish it with a headshot. And when you break them down like that, dude, they're absolutely brutal. We're not quite to the Mortal Kombat levels of executions and finishes, but damn if that's not intense for a Call of Duty title, especially with recent years and the content that we've seen thrown in the midst of all of it. But anyways, these are the 3 that we've seen so far, and they certainly look to spice up the gameplay quite a bit. Now, you can do this whenever you want. It's not something that automatically activates when you go in for a melee, so you can still do your standard melees. It's just an extra added flair to it. But the thing is, like we mentioned, this could be a huge moment for embarrassing your opponent, but you have to be sure that you can pull it off, because this also leaves the vulnerability time wide open. The animation that you go into is in real time in your match, and to finish off a player, it'll take about 3 to 4 seconds. So that means that you can definitely get shot at, and in that animation, you're completely defenseless. It doesn't seem like you can break that animation like you could, say, with an emote in Fortnite, and immediately jump back into the action. So once you initiate it, you're locked in and you're going whether you like it or not. But similar to what we see with the finishers in Black Ops 4's Blackout mode, enemies again can still shoot at you, hurting you, or even killing you, potentially saving their teammates. Now, I had the question asked, can you save your teammates from being executed? And meaning outside of that, outside of just shooting the player executing them, as if to counter it on the player doing it. To which, honestly, I don't really have a stable answer just yet. I don't think we've seen anything in a current build or up-to-date build that would showcase this. We did see in the 2v2 reveal build that you're able to execute somebody that is going into an execution move. That happened where, while putting one player down, the executioner got kicked into the same position and finished off. So it was pretty wild to see it happen as a chain reaction type type of thing. And I do think it'd be really cool to see in real time saving a player, but who knows? I think it'd be really cool to reverse that to save your teammate and also take down the one trying to execute, but let's see what Infinity Ward can pull off. So while I'm pretty impressed with the brutality of these ones, I'm definitely curious to see where these go from here. Naturally, if we have them per operator, we've still got quite a few that we have not seen just yet. We discussed how, without the defaults, there are 18 operators in the game, 9 for each faction, 9 for the Coalition, 9 for the Allegiance, 20 if you do count the defaults. If that's the case, then we've got at least 15 more executions coming our way at the very bare minimum. Again, that's even considering the default one is an operator specific one. That could very well just be, again, the default operator default execution. And that's also guessing that we don't have more per operator, that we don't have built in at launch multiple executions per operator. There could be 2, 3, 4 per operator, making that even way more that we haven't seen. So who knows, maybe there is more, maybe there's not, but while we don't have any specific dates on any gameplay that will be shown off next, the beta is fast approaching, and I can almost guarantee you that we'll see more than 3 operators, so we'll end up seeing more of those executions and probably a handful more at that. But what about even further after the beta? What about at launch? What about post-launch? Will these press into something further and maybe even become a sort of DLC? Now, right now we have absolutely no idea how DLC is going to be handled within Modern Warfare. We know that things like maps will be free to all players, PlayStation 4 exclusivity still applying for a week, so that means that while the maps will be free, PlayStation 4 will have a week head start on all that, then the crossplay can resume and jump into everything a week following whenever everybody gets that, but outside of that, we have no idea how everything else will be handled. Personally, I'd love to see it take the Modern Warfare remastered route mixed in with the free DLC weapons of Infinite Warfare. I'd like to see some collections added in. I'd like to see some in-game salvage or something like that that is grindable, a currency that can be used in-game just simply based off your playtime. And I really hope that we don't follow, mark that down as being very explicit, that we don't follow Black Ops 4's route. But I'll be totally honest with you, I am terrified of a repeat of Black Ops 4, so thinking in the worst case scenario, we'll talk about that. I definitely see that executions are something that definitely could be, if supply drops are in the game, something that is thrown into the loot pool. It's something cosmetic, not a weapon, and something that will fill out the chances that isn't necessarily needed, and so therefore it kind of is a filler content item, but it's also something that's pretty cool. It's something that is worthwhile and would alter the game's perception, but doesn't offer any major bonus or any major advantage to a player. Also, it's something that would be usable and isn't something like a calling card or a sticker or a tag that we've seen thrown all over the place as just filler items that personally I haven't touched. I don't think that I've changed my calling card more than 2 or 3 times in the entire year since the game has launched almost. So that kind of stuff, absolutely useless. Changing executions as if an emote, I'd definitely do that. But like I said, that's my biggest thing, that I'm just terrified of a repeat of Black Ops 4. So that worst case scenario, if I'd have an item in a loot pool, I'd rather it be an execution for an operator than a sticker or a weapon. A sticker is obviously something that is just full-blown filler. I don't care about it all. But a weapon is also something that I don't want to see either because, well, that definitely enforces the MTX and is the invisible hand pushing you towards it. So if I could get something that's worthwhile but not something that really is unfair, I'd take an execution over a weapon being in supply drops or something like that. But again, I'd much rather hope to see something like collections, something that you can maybe get out of random chance, but those items like a weapon, those items like a weapon kit or some camo like that, those you don't get out of supply drops, but instead they're just earnable via salvage as a collection reward or something like that, and so on and so forth. One thing that kind of talking about now that we're on the hopes for more minuscule things, I think it'd be actually kind of cool if Modern Warfare, I know it's really cheesy and you guys could totally disagree, I think it'd be really cool to end up seeing some secret reload animations like how Battlefield had a couple of those. I know that the RNG for that kind of stuff was built in so that it's something that happened naturally, but it was a 1 in 10,000 chance on those reloads. So it happens very sparingly and is not something you see often, but I do think it'd be kind of cool to equip something that is like a 1 in 100 reload. You get that special animation or something like that. It'd be, again, something that's stupid to fill out, but it also wouldn't be something that would really anger anybody because it could be something cool to look at. But anyways, I think executions though are a really brutal and cool way to introduce a humiliation system to Modern Warfare, and I would not be surprised if post-launch it gets even more support. I'm honestly surprised with how much things have been monetized in Black Ops 4. We didn't see more in Black Ops 4, so I'm curious to see if there's any post-launch support for more of these, or if we're gonna have selectable options for them, whatever it may be. But I think that's where we're gonna wrap it up. So love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. Firstly, what do you guys think of this system? Do you think it's a cool way to maybe embarrass your opponent, assert your gaming dominance, however you want to put it? Do you like the system? Do you not necessarily like the system? And what do you think will happen after launch with these things? Do you think that it'll maybe be added in as post-launch content support, or do you think it'll just be kind of left alone and not really have much added to it? Whatever it is though, feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to drop a like down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Modern Warfare. Anything relating to updates, news, information, tips, tricks, gameplay reveals, all that kind of stuff, we got you covered here on the channel. So if any of that interests you, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. We of course do still have some Black Ops 4 content coming along the way, but I'm really excited for Modern Warfare. I'm ready for something new and I'm ready for it to be October. But if you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. Probably live on both those. If you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, those links are down there in the description below for you guys to check out. But all that said and out of the way, thank you guys all so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.